Welcome back from an ad break. We will continue with our topic, the application of the problem-solving techniques. As mentioned before we went on an ad break, that we've got 4 problem-solving techniques that we are focusing on in grade 10 business studies. So we're going to start with the first one being nominal group technique. Right, for every technique, in order for you to be able to apply it, you must understand what it means or what is it all about so that you can apply it. So what does it mean when we're applying it? We are putting it to use. So how to use it? So what is a nominal group technique? It says here the nominal group technique is used to avoid the disadvantages of group discussions. Right, in as much as you can see here, it says it's a nominal group technique. However, we use it to avoid the disadvantages of group discussions. You will understand what we mean by that. It says there's always 1 or 2 dominant people who take over while the rest of the group members keeps quiet. Now, this can also be a good thing, but also a bad thing. But now let's stick more to what? To the application. How do we apply this technique? Remember, we said in our problem-solving steps that when we are coming up with the solutions, we're going to come up with the solutions by looking at the different techniques. So we will choose the relevant one, and the relevant one will be based on the problem that we are having. Remember, so what kind of problem that we are having that will require us to use the specific technique. So with this problem, with this nominal group technique, this is how we're going to apply it, or how we will put it to use basically. So it says here the group is divided into a smaller group of 5 or 6 people around the table. So now I want you to imagine that with me. Let's visualize this. So we have a group of people. We divide them into smaller groups. Very important keyword, smaller groups of 5 or 6 people around the table. Secondly, the problem is defined clearly. Remember, when we are defining the problem, we've identified it. We're coming up with the causes of the problem so that everybody understands what the problem is or what are the causes of the problem. Thereafter, each individual will silently brainstorm as many ideas as possible, then they write them down. So each individual, meaning everybody, will then be given a chance to brainstorm silently. Right, and then next, one by one, each person in the group gives one of their solutions and someone writes them all down on a big sheet of paper. So can you see that everybody is given an opportunity to participate in this technique? The group is given the results of which idea received the most points, the second most, and so on. Each group presents the solution that was deemed the best according to the votes. I hope you can see that everyone is given an opportunity. The nicest thing about this is that now we are avoiding what? We are avoiding conflict. Hence, when we started, we did say that nominal group technique, I'm going to take you back on this slide. Nominal group technique is used to avoid the disadvantages of group discussions, because when there's group discussion, sometimes there's going to be conflict and all that. But here we read that now one by one, each person in the group will give their solution. So there's peace, there's order basically. Order is the right word that I'm looking for. Right, then you're going to the second technique, which is what? Which is brainstorming. Right, what is brainstorming? I'm sure you've heard of the word brainstorming. It's not a new word or a new concept. It says here businesses use brainstorming when they want to involve employees or teams in the decision-making process. Already you can tell that this is not a bad technique. Why? Because now the employees are involved, and when employees are involved, they feel like they are part of the team. It needs to be managed by a facilitator to ensure that the best result is achieved. So basically there should be a middle person in this one. All right, now how do we put it to use? How do we apply brainstorming? It's very important that you understand the application in as much as you understand or know how to explain it. People in the group will suggest ideas and solutions at random. Right, all ideas must be written on a flip chart. The facilitator must encourage everyone. So we are encouraging everyone to participate and ensure that no one criticizes any suggestions, which is good. This motivates people to shy away from coming up with their own ideas, because they understand that no one is going to criticize their ideas. So all ideas are allowed or are welcomed. So similar ideas are grouped together using colored pens. The group evaluates. Don't forget, when you're evaluating, we are looking at the advantages and the disadvantages, the positives and the negatives. So the group evaluates the ideas and rates them according to how successful they think each idea will be. I hope you've seen, with brainstorming, everyone is allowed to share their ideas, but no one will criticize any suggestions. So this is motivating to the group members, right? So I hope you understand brainstorming and its application. We're going to move to the third one, which is force-field analysis. Like I said, it's not just force-field, but it's force-field analysis. It's very important that you say it in full. Right, force-field analysis, which is the third technique. Right, it is aimed at facilitating change in the business. So if we want change in the business, this is the perfect technique to use to solve the problem. So management is a force acting for change. So management wants change, while the employees, it's a force that is against the change. To understand, we want to bring about change as a business. As management, we are advocating for it, we are for it, but the management is against it. So how do we then facilitate the change? How do we ensure that the employees, they also part of it, they go for this change that we want to implement? Right, here's a tip here. It says the driving forces are at the advantages of the challenge, whereas the restraining forces are disadvantages of the challenge. Right, you'll understand why I had to put it there. Right, how do we then put force-field analysis into practice? The business should describe the current situation and the desired situation. Where are we now, but where do we want to be as a business? So we want change, basically, want to bring about change. So we write a plan or proposal for change in the middle. So in the middle, you're going to write that. So Peter, I don't have enough space, but I'll try and do something like this. Right. So in the middle here, this is where we'll write change, our proposal change, and then list all the forces are driving, which is the positives. So here it will be our positives, and then here it's going to be what? Our negatives. Do you understand? Right. Right, we've got our negatives here. So you list all the forces in support of the change in one column. Right, so who wants change? Who is advocating for change? It's the management. So what is it that you want? You write the positives. Remember, we are evaluating this. Right, this is what we want. This is what we want. And then the negatives, you write the negative this side. And then afterwards, you should have a score. Right, there's going to be a score. Right, you have to rate it. Assign a score for each from 1 being weak or 5 strong. So since we are advocating for change, we need to rate it. So if we said we want this change, how important is it? And then we are rating it. Maybe it's 4 here, it's 5 here, it's 3 here, it's 2 here, it's 3 rather, it's 2, and then it's 1. Thereafter, you need to total it. I'm sorry, I don't have space. Right, so we'll say 5 plus 4 plus 3, it's what? It's 12. We've got 12 on the positives, and then yet we've got how much? We've got 6 on the negative side of it. So meaning now the positives, they outweigh the negatives. So what does that mean? It means the forces for change are more than the forces against change. It says assign a score for each from 1 being weak to 5 being strong. Please have that in mind. Right, so let's continue. Determine if change is viable. If not, check which restraining forces can be influenced or mitigated or avoided to make the change possible. If so, find ways to increase the forces for change and diminish the forces against the change. Based on this outcome, come up with a strategy to help reduce the resisting forces and ensure that changes can be done. So in our case, right, we've realized that the driving forces are more than the driving forces against change. So we're going to go with the positives. I hope it makes sense, right? It takes practice. You just have to put this into practice in order for you to understand it. Right, we're going to go to the last one, the last problem-solving technique, which is the Delphi. Right, the key word here is that businesses will use this technique to obtain group input from experts on a specific issue. So there are sometimes other issues that we're facing that requires the people who are more knowledgeable to assist us. So in this instance, we'll have to bring experts. And the minute we do that, it is called a Delphi technique because they are more knowledgeable. The experts are intentionally kept apart so that their responses are not influenced by other experts taking part in the process. So here, the nicest thing or the positive about this particular technique is that we are using experts, and experts, they know better. And the nicest thing again, they are not in one group and we don't have to meet them face to face, do you understand? So how do we apply this? All right, it says here, a panel of experts is invited to participate in the process. Already it's good. We need people who are knowledgeable. They're going to give us the good feedback. Right, experts do not have to be in one place and will be contacted individually. Already we can see that this eliminates what? Eliminates conflict, which is good. Right, thirdly, a questionnaire is designed and distributed to the panel. We're talking about experts here. We're going to give them a questionnaire. Right. The fourth part said the panelists will respond to the questionnaire individually and return it to the organization. Remember, no one's going to influence anyone here. So when they respond individually, which is good, a final summary and feedback reports are prepared. If you're not happy, we're going to take it back to the experts again to say, okay, we're not happy with the response. We need a further response. Then eventually consensus is reached and the best solution is chosen. What do we mean by consensus? Consensus is another word for what? For an agreement. So a consensus is going to be reached and the best solution is chosen. Remember, the whole point of solving the problem, you want to come up with the best solution. So how do we come up with the best solution? We had different experts who participated in this particular technique. I hope you understood this. I hope you enjoyed the application of the problem-solving techniques because I've thoroughly enjoyed them. So from me, Ms. Mabue, I'll see you again next time. Goodbye.